Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Sacred Roots podcast. Today, I don't have just one guest. I have two amazing guests, two amazing, can I say, priestesses, witches, all of those names. Why don't you introduce yourself, ladies?
Hello, listeners. I'm Victoria. I am one half of Spirit Mamas. I am a mama, an energy healer, an intuitive. I work with the Akashic Records. I do embodiment and breathwork sessions, and I'm just so excited to be here. I feel like that beautiful invocation at the beginning that you just gave, like, turned on a spark within me that I feel we're sending waves of energy to the listeners through our vocal cords and our vibrations, but also just through our energy. And wow, that was a mini activation for me. So thank you.
Yeah, so just for those who are listening and are like, what is this invocation? Before I record a podcast, I always do a small prayer, a small invocation, and that's just for me and the guests so that we can ground ourselves and talk from our hearts to your hearts. Maybe one day I should share it on the podcast. Another day.
Yes, no, that was beautiful. I do the same thing with every circle that we hold. It's like a small prayer where we seal the circle. So that was beautiful. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So I am Tiffany, the other half of Spirit Mamas. I am a certified Reiki master, also a certified sound healer, intuitive, witch, priestess, whatever you want to call me. I'm also a mom to two beautiful boys. I have a 12-year-old and a soon-to-be 3-year-old in about 2 weeks. So I'm really happy to be here and share my journey with all of you.
So let's dive into your journeys, because I think it's always so interesting. I love to hear people's stories. And so for those that are listening, maybe they already own their witch self or their priestess self or their spiritual self. And maybe they're still on their journey. And I think that seeing women like you and seeing where you are and how you're really living your dharma, it can be really inspiring for them. So did you wake up knowing you were a priestess, or was it a dark journey?
No, I feel like for anyone listening that maybe is still in the spiritual closet, like I was for a long time, that's okay. But now is the time to step up. Now is the time to shine your light. It's safe to be who you are. I think for a long time, I didn't feel safe and I ran away from the spiritual side of myself. Tiffany actually was one that told me that I was very spiritual and I was very connected. And I always told her, no, 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 no way. And then having a miscarriage on my journey really opened my eyes to how connected everyone really is, as long as they are open to receiving. And that shift really allowed me to put pen to paper. That was how at first I connected, was just writing nonstop every single day. And I've evolved as I'm now a mom of two. I just had my second boy 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you. With each child, I feel like it's been an additional shift on my spiritual journey. And so I think it's also important to share that we're always changing, right? And that it's okay that who you are now is different than who you were 5 seconds ago, or 5 years ago, or 5 days ago. And that's what it is to be human. And so at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I probably wouldn't even have called myself spiritual. I would have just said that I was mindful. And now I really claim that spirituality and think, whatever you want to call it, there is something guiding us. We have free will, of course, but something bigger than us that we are continuing to connect to. And so that journey now has gotten to a point where every single day I find time to sit in stillness with myself, whether it's a walking meditation outside with a baby strapped to my chest, or true, stillness, getting to sit and breathe. That is what my spirituality means to me currently on my journey. Tiff, I don't know. I know you have a daily practice too, but it looks very different for both of us. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, so I've actually been connected to the spiritual realm via dreams since I can remember. I think the first time that my dreams started somewhat coming to reality was around between 8 and 13. in bits and pieces. And I remember my grandmother reading my palm and things of that nature. So I've always been somewhat connected. But I didn't really step into my power until I had my first son, Logan. I just really, I feel like when he came through that birth portal and I saw this beautiful life that was so innocent and really didn't see the burdens that the world puts on us, it really made me want to lean into my spirituality. And so with that, I really wanted to make sure he understood his power and the fact that he is connected to source. He is source as well. And we all are, and that he can do anything that he wants. And so that kind of took me on this journey of really becoming a Reiki healer and really saying that I'm spiritual and stepping away from the religion that I was kind of dharma into. But then when I had my second son, Lennox, this is when Spirit Mamas really came into play, because once again, this beautiful soul comes through this place and it reminded me of the power that I hold within, and that I should really be using and living my life's purpose, which is being a healer. So my practice every day, like I try to meditate at least once a day. That's what I just love to meditate, because it takes me, I feel like I don't like to be here, so I like to go somewhere else a lot of times. And so just having that quiet moment where I'm like really connecting to my higher self and to source just is very calming to me. And whether I do that for 10 minutes or an hour, I try to get it in once a day. And then I also do a lot of affirmation and journaling every day, just to make sure I'm putting it on paper and putting it out into the universe.
And like you said, that spiritual practice can really look very different for everyone. And I think that the more we embrace the spiritual essence, because really we're spiritual beings having a human experience, the more we embrace that, the more we can actually bring spirituality in everything that we do and start living in a ceremonial way. And my husband and I were really on this journey of trying to bring the beauty of life, the beauty of spirit in everything that we do. When we cook, when we have a bath, when we have a shower, I have this beautiful prayer that I do in the shower where I thank the water. When the sun comes up, we have like, if I'm up when the sun comes up, let's be honest. Sometimes I do it much later in the day, but at least I try to connect with the sun and with the earth once a day. Sometimes I love to meditate. I feel that my body is craving that stillness. Especially when you become a mom, you're like running around everywhere when you're having a business that you love as well. There's so much to do and so much you want to do because you love your life. So you can very quickly get lost in just being busy. So sometimes I just crave that stillness and I want to meditate. Sometimes my body is like, no, you have to dance today. And I've had some amazing spiritual experiences while dancing. And sometimes it's no, today you have to sing. So sometimes I sing, and that's really how I connect with spirit. And I love to just allow myself to just go with the flow, as long as I take 5 to 50 to 5 hours, just to create space for the divine in my life, because it's so powerful and it activates us.
Well, and I think it's beautiful that you listen to the way that it wants to come through, because I think we all maybe look at other people and think our spiritual practice has to look like that, or it has to be this serious thing, and it doesn't. We love to dance. We dance at every single full moon circle that we hold. We dance, honestly, in pretty much any container that we put out there, because there is so much joy in dancing, but you move so much energy dancing too. We as women hold so much in our hips. We hold lifetimes of trauma and energy in our hips. And so dancing and being free in that way is something that we both really, really enjoy. And, I think the ritual of the everyday is so beautiful, and something that I can even be reminded of, because I think we're so busy, as you said, instead of taking a moment to maybe zone out and look at the butterflies and the bees outside, we look down at our phones and we scroll and we scroll and we scroll, and you're constantly taking in energy. And you have to stop and say, is that sucking my energy, or is it giving me energy? And I will say, a lot of the times, most people, what we're choosing to do is draining our energy instead of giving us more life. And so I love that just all of those practices that you mentioned give you more. I think as moms, we're told that, oh, our kids take so much time and so much energy from us, and they do. But you can fill your own cup in those little moments throughout the day in a way that makes it sustainable. I have probably more energy now, even though I'm up all night with a newborn, than I did 3 years ago, because I'm constantly checking in with myself to say, what do I need in this moment?
Yeah.
And that's something that we should all do more often.
Yeah. It's so, so, so important, because that's how we can give our best to others. That's what we came here to do, for sure. And I'd love to know if there was maybe a specific moment on your journey that was activating for you, or that was a turning point, or one of the biggest lessons that you've learned that helped you step into who you are today.
I would say that it was probably when my son was around the age of 5. And I've been told that he hasn't been here before, right? This is his first lifetime, and he
Oh,
really is more of like an angel that came through to teach me. And he would do certain things that like he would get down in meditative state, and I'm like, how do you know how to do that? Or he would talk to me about the planets and universe and just source, and I'm like, how do you know that? But in that moment, it was really defining for me, because I realized that he was brought here to help me and raise me to the vibration I should be like living on and vibrating on, as much as I am here to nurture and take care of him. And so I think it was probably around the time he was 5 when I was like, okay, I'm listening, and he still does the most amazing things, even though he's entering this whole preteen phase. But he still reminds me every day of just like how pure we really are, and how we should just really live in a place of being infinite and flowing, and just not letting time or the things that hit us every day get in the way of our true happiness. And so I think, and that's been a while ago now, because he's 12, so like 7 years ago for me.
wow, amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Tiff, I thought you were going to say when you woke up with Reiki symbols like on the walls.
That definitely happened. That's a whole nother story. I get all types of crazy downloads. Now I'm realizing like it's more of my starseed messaging that was coming through. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, that was definitely a transition point for me too. But I think by then Logan he was around the age of 5, but it was like this second spiritual awakening that I was kind of going through. And I recently just went through another one, which was quite amazing. So
Well, tell us.
I think on this spiritual journey, you go through phases of waking up over and over again. And as you just continue to activate those things that we've forgotten, that you just expand and grow. And so the first spiritual awakening was probably like everybody else's. You have like the rough days, you're questioning any and everything. This second one was beautiful. And I still feel like this, like I'm in this transition place where like I try not to get on my phone a lot. Like I've been trying to just get natural downloads from my Starseed family. And so much has happened over the last, I would say, month and a half, where I started seeing the writing again on the wall, but I felt like through dreams, I understood it, and realizing that, I am connected to that higher source, and that I can be that source at any given time that I want to. And I've been practicing with my, I manifest quickly, but recently it's been like, just practicing, and it's like coming in like in 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh, so it's really me letting go and truly like envisioning myself as nothing, and just flowing and connecting with everything.
So I have 1,000 questions now. Where you're not going to go like this. What is your star family? Do you know which star system you come from?
So there's several. So this is what I've learned over the last month, is that we all come from several different, we come from everything. And so what really sparked this interest was one day Victoria was opening the Akashic, and she was like, this comes from the Pleiadian, and I go, out of nowhere, I go, well, can you get, the Akashic, can it open from any star, any star? And she's like, I never asked that. And so she asked, she's like, yeah, it can. So with that, all this stuff started coming through where I feel like I'm connected to probably in different lifetimes, I'm probably connected to about 4 or 5 different star seeds, which is quite amazing when they come through. And but I think we just all, it's one of those things where like once you start doing research and really listening to your intuition, you kind of feel what flows for you or who's communicating with you in that moment and what they're trying to get through. Yes.
And what is one of the biggest messages or one of the messages that you've received and you were like, oh, that's like completely new and very life-changing?
So Victoria and I, we held a retreat in Sedona back in March, and we were working with this Native American medicine lady who was teaching us how to use these, make these traveling medicine like altars. And she kept talking about these, God, how do I even say? She kept talking about like the planet Earth and how it has this net over it, and how, it's bigger beings that have almost like the government, and how like all of our government has like the NATO, right? But like on a spiritual level, it's like this government of beings that basically helps all the planets stay aligned. And I was listening to her, and I'm always intrigued. I'm like, I didn't go home and do research, but through this, I realized that I chose to come to planet Earth this particular lifetime so that I could be the starseed that kind of helps people remember, but also help us understand the relationship that we need to have with these higher beings that most people are afraid of if they see them, but they're already here, and they already work with those of us who want to be worked with to help, elevate people. And the Earth will be fine, but it definitely is going to go through this dark period and transition that it has to go through in order to heal itself. And so I think the most important thing was just giving honor to Mother Earth, because she's been through a lot, but purposefully to help us evolve as a human race.
Absolutely. So beautiful. Thank you.
And
one last question, and then we're going to go
jump in. It made me think of, though, that Tiff, we were already, as part of healing the mother wound, this container that we hold, we work through the lower chakras and we connect with our healed ancestors. And we've always called in our starseed ancestors before Tiffany even, had this realization. And so I'm just making that connection now, that it's really beautiful that we intentionally did that without even really knowing why. And I feel like we're going to, as we evolve this program, like we're going to know even more why we're calling in the ancestors, because it was very important to us that we let people know, yes, you have earthly ancestors that go back generations, but you have starseed ancestors too, that are part of this healing and part of this lineage and part of this work. So anyway, that light bulb just went off for me.
I love that. I love how sometimes, I mean, actually quite often, we do things just because it feels important, but we don't really know why. And then months or years later, we're like, oh my God, I had no idea how important it actually was. It's like, well, thank God I did it. Okay, one last question for you, Tiffany, because I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are wondering now, I want to connect as well with my starseed family, my starseed ancestors. Where do I come from? I feel connected to the stars. Where can they start? What would be your advice?
So I have an affirmation that I say every morning, and it is, Source, allow me to be a clear conduit for your message. Allow me to relay your message in a clear form. And every morning when I say that, I feel like I get downloads. But it's really about being open, right? So it's like, if you ask, they will come. I think that was in some movie. It is true. Like, if you are open to what's beyond what we can see right in front of us, you will have such a beautiful experience with connecting the source and the star seeds. And I say source because source is all of those things. And
Yeah.
so it's really being open to being connected to everything and having that experience. And it'll definitely flow in.
Okay. So opening ourselves to receiving, maybe lighting a candle to really symbolize that, making sure that we are in a sacred space to do so.
I like to do, and it all started months ago, but I do a release ceremony with a black candle, probably like once a quarter. And I burn a black candle, and then I do a bunch of herbs like sage, rosemary, and I get these like tea leaves, and I literally like write out what I want to release and burn them in a mason jar. And what I found with that is as you release certain things, you are able to receive more. So I would tell anyone, first release anything that you are holding on to or any hangups that you may or may not be aware of, and then allow source to just flow into that space. And yeah, you can light a candle. I would definitely be in a quiet space because you want to be able to hear, see, or, get all the feelings that Starseed family may want to bring to you in that moment. Yeah. And so it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was a very interesting ride. All right, your turn, Victoria.
No, I love it. Now I'm like, ooh, we need to do some more with this around starseeds, because that's honestly, we have a blog on our website that we, whatever comes through us, we have crystals, all kinds of metaphysical things, but we wrote a post about starseed families forever ago to share with anyone that joins Healing the Mother Wound as kind of like a precursor, just to get them thinking about this as an idea. It is our most viewed blog post. And I think it's a topic people are super interested in because they are waking up and they are realizing that there's something else out there, and it doesn't have to be scary to connect to them. I think, we see all these movies, right, all the time of like, they look like a certain way, or they may be scary and they're coming to invade us. No, they're here to learn just as much as we're here to learn on the human journey, because there's certain things you can only experience in an earthly body. And they observe that just as much as we observe the natural world around us. And so anyway, I just think it's fascinating, and that there's more there for Tiffany and I to dive into.
Yeah. I also think that sometimes we see them as those extraterrestrial because they are out of the planet, but time and space only exist on this planet and dimension. And so really, the more I connect with them, the more I actually perceive them as me in another time, except that old
They're
moments
just
are
you
connected.
in another time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. Some of them have bodies, some of them are just energy. And they, when they choose to show themselves, they show however we perceive them.
Yeah. And how it's easiest for us also to receive their messages. Awesome. So interesting. So your journey, Victoria, what was really like a tipping point or one of the biggest lessons that led you to where you are today?
Oh, the miscarriage was big because it really allowed me to just drop any preconceived notions that I had around connecting. And I dove deep, like off the deep end right away. Like I remember Tiffany being like, whoa, the you of 2 months ago is so different than who you are now, in a good way, because I went, into meditating daily and journaling, and I did everything I could to work through that grief. And I think that cycle actually is coming to full circle and has already closed, because I truly believe the son I just birthed was the soul that was trying to come through then. And
Okay.
he was trying to wake me up and show me this spiritual way, because not that I was lost by any means, but I was doing a lot to numb myself and tune out the world. I was smoking weed every single day, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I was doing it to a point of excess, to where I would just sit on the couch and not do anything else. And so it took this happening for me to wake up and realize, okay, there's something more going on here. And then with the birth of my first son, Sebastian, that really started the internal questioning of, okay, why am I here? What am I doing? Do I want to always be in this corporate job forever? There's something bigger, there's something more here. And I think a lot of moms go through that because you see this, as Tiffany said, this perfect little being, and you want more for them. You realize that you can choose differently, right? And so I think that for me was a very big turning point. But even now with the birth of my second son, I feel like just recently, this last Lionsgate, it's coming more and more into my power. So I wouldn't say there's like one big moment like Tiffany had. I think it's a lot of little moments that have added up over time to really peel back the layers, right, of societal conditioning and of the way that I thought things had to be, to show me that I can choose and I can do things in any way that I want to. And actually, before our call today, I pulled a card from our new Oracle deck that is Forge Your Own Path. And it's just a beautiful reminder that we're all here to do our own thing and do it differently. You don't have to do it the way that you've always done it. You can do it the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think just getting deeper and deeper into that and into my power and my truth and being able to decide in every moment who I want to be has been kind of the pivotal point of my journey for sure.
Yeah. I love that message for forge your own path, because we are in such a big transition, at all kinds of levels. We don't need to get into details. I think everybody knows what's happening right now on the planet. And so what we are creating and birthing on a collective and individual level as well is new and has never really been before. So we have to forge that path. We have to be the trailblazers and just do it with our heart and trust whatever comes up. And that's why we're also seeing such a huge spiritual awakening everywhere in the world. And it's beautiful. It gives me hope personally.
Me too. And leading with your heart is probably my number one message that I share with people, because it's never going to lead you astray.
Mhm.
And it takes real courage to follow that. And I know that not everyone is ready to step into that, but I hope even just listening to our conversation today, it opens your mind to taking that baby step. And actually, one of my mentors the other day was sharing, if you're lost and confused right now and you don't know what you want to do with your life, or you know that you want to do something bigger, or you're kind of in this cloud of confusion, it's most likely because what you want to do or create or be hasn't existed yet. And so you have to be the one to call that alchemy forward, to call that frequency in, to forge that path. And so that really opened things up to me to realize I don't have to do anything that anyone has done before. Even in business, I feel like it's very easy as an entrepreneur to, kind of copy what's out there and put your own spin on it and things like that. But now is the time to do something completely radical.
Yeah.
Exactly. Something totally different. And it's not about whether or not it's a traditional quote unquote success. It's about whether or not it makes you feel good. It makes others feel good.
Yeah.
And that's the barometer that I want to be using moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been mentioning a few times the mother wound and how you're doing a program around the mother wound. And I would love to dive into that, because I feel that is a topic that is a little bit taboo. Not a lot of people dare to speak about it, but a lot of women are actually suffering from it. So can you tell us in your words what the mother wound is and why it's important to heal it today?
Absolutely. We love to tell women, if you have a mother, you have a mother wound. And it doesn't mean that you had a bad childhood, that you had a bad mother by any means. My mother is an angel. I love her dearly. She put up with me during my teenage years. But it comes back to energy, right? You and your energy and your essence was in your grandmother's womb. And so any energy that she experienced and your mother has experienced, you've experienced. And so women, it's not news, have been oppressed for lifetimes.
Yeah.
And so any of that negativity you have absorbed. And so it is so important to release that. I truly believe we are the generation that's here to do that, that's here to break that cycle, to break those curses, if you will. And so this program came to me as a download one new moon, probably 2 years ago now. And it just felt so important that we help clear some of that trauma, that we connect to, I mentioned this earlier, our healed ancestors, because they have the power and the capacity to elevate that energy with us. And we do it in a sacred circle with other women, because again, the energy is exponentially amplified when women come together to heal and to lift themselves up. And I think that's another big key of doing this work, is it heals your sister wounds too, and your witch wounds, and any type of competition between women that has been passed down through generations. Now is the time for collaboration and realizing that there's enough room at the table. And so that's really what the mother wound is to us, is really digging through and out so that your true female essence, your beauty, your grace, your power can come through. And we're shedding all of those lifetimes of negative energy that have kind of been pushed upon us, if you will, whether or not we really wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of our sacred container is it's a 4-week container, and we usually have no more than 10 to 12 women who join us. And each week we focus on a different chakra, ending at the heart chakra. And Victoria and I, we've held this space now for, I think this September will be the 5th time. And each time we heal even more. So each time we've received different downloads or healing that we didn't realize that we were still holding on to some of that trauma. And so it's been so beautiful to be able to not only hold space for these beautiful ladies, but for them to also hold space for us. Because when we first started the container, I don't think we realized how much we were going to be healing as well. And it's been a beautiful journey. And I'm really excited about this next round now that I'm a little bit more connected to my starseed ancestors. So it should be very interesting to see what comes through, or what healing I may need from previous lifetimes as well. But it's a beautiful space that we hold.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so do you also, in that container, talk a little bit about the relationship with the mother and why we can have such conflicts with our mothers, or why it can be hard? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so each container is unique in that whoever joins, their energy, it's very specific in the sense that this exact group needs to come together to heal at this time. And sometimes it's because of past life and past life relationships. So I know in previous lifetimes, I have been the mother and my mother has been the daughter. And that's part of why we clashed a lot when I was growing up. But also we go very much into birth stories. And that's kind of the thread that we follow in our container, because whatever was happening when you were birthed is an energy and a trauma that can be passed on to you. So I think that was a very big realization for me this last time we held the container, was that my mother was alone when she gave birth to me. She labored by herself, I should say, for most of the night. And by the time she got to the hospital with my father, she was already 9 centimeters dilated and I was coming. But I'd never really realized that the hard work, the all night laboring, she was by herself. And I never thought about what that could feel like. And then it made me realize, wow, she, as her and my father have divorced over the years, she always just wanted love. She just wanted that love that she didn't have during one of those pivotal moments. And that was passed to me as a child of divorce. When I'm argumentative and clashing with someone, it's because I'm lashing out because I want love. And that sounds so counterintuitive. You would think if you want love, you would be nice to someone. But it made me really see that dynamic, to realize, okay, I do this because of this. And that we are far more connected than we are different. And I don't know if I would have realized that without this container.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Tiff, what about you?
So it's interesting. My mom, I mean, I've seen us in so many different lifetimes, and I've always been her daughter in most, but I've always been the daughter that is like the mother trying to get her to a place on her spiritual journey. And so I think this lifetime, you know, some of her fears, like, so if we also asked the moms, I mean, the ladies to tell their birth stories. And so my birth story was, I was premature. I was coming feet first, umbilical cord around my neck. My dad, no cell phones back then. So my dad was out. It was New Year's Day. He happened to come home right in time as my mom is trying to hold me up in her. My feet are coming out of her. And so there was a lot of fear that she was dealing with. And when she got to the hospital, she had to have an emergency C-section. My dad couldn't be there. They had done all this planning. And so also some form of like abandonment, but not on purpose. And so I realized this last round of healing the mother wound that a lot of the fears that she has around just like even what I do with my spiritual practice, or even just some of the decisions that she makes as a grown adult around certain things, she questions a lot. And a lot of that came from that fear. And in that, I realized that I was holding on to a lot of fear, and I needed control in a lot of relationships because of the control she may have lost while giving birth to me. And so also like asking her a few weeks after our last healing the mother wound round, what was her mom, my grandmother's birth story like, and coming to find out that they like, my grandmother didn't experience any of it, because back then they would just kind of put the person to sleep and push the baby out. And it was like, so it's also trauma around that. And so I think what I love about just diving in deeper with my wound is figuring out how do I, you know, cut off some of those things so that my children, my grandchildren don't have to, you know, take those burdens on, and we can kind of leave it right here in this lifetime.
Thank you. I love that you are doing that. I think it's so important to dive into our mother wounds, because we have also chosen our mothers, and there's always a reason why we have chosen our mothers. And I've had my own journey with my mother, and now I'm at a place of gratitude and full acceptance and just love, even though it's been a very conflictual journey. And it's interesting. I wondered, why has it been so hard? I got to a place of gratitude, but still I felt that it was really a karmic link. And so one day I went to see a healer, and she told me, well, you actually came back on earth because you vowed to come back with her. You weren't supposed to reincarnate, but you vowed to come because you wanted to be with her and teach her a few things. And your soul family, when you made that vow, they were not happy because they knew that it wouldn't be an easy journey because you're very different. But we have that love for each other. As soon as I see her, it's like I can't explain it. It's really a soul connection, even though we have very different energies and we don't get along all the time. So it's very interesting. And it's gifted me with so many lessons that lead me to where I am today. Her weaknesses, her mistakes were gifts, and her talents and qualities were gifts as well. And so I was not there. I think it's recent since I can say that. And it's been really a very deep journey into healing that mother wound. So I'm really excited for all the women that are going to join the containers with you. I mean, the containers, because there's going to be many more. There's one in September. It's going to be too late for those who are listening to this episode, but you're going to do another one in 2023, I guess, in January, I think you said.
Yes, absolutely. And I actually wanted to ask you, have you noticed when you do the individual work that it shifts things with your mother without her having to do the work, if that makes sense? Like, I know the first time we held healing the mother wound, it felt like out of the blue, my mom came to me and was like, can you open my Akashic records? Can you, she got very interested in my spiritual practices without me even prompting her. And I think it was because of, or I know it was because of all of the energetic work that I was doing was rippling out to her. So have you noticed that with your mother as well?
I have noticed that as well. Interestingly, she's quite open to spirituality. And so me really stepping into that fully has given her permission to own that even more. even though, she might not resonate with everything or understand everything. And I have also seen it a lot in my clients. It's really beautiful to see how our own healing, because we are energetically connected to each other, ripples out to others. Like, you have so many people saying, oh, suddenly now my husband is saying, maybe I have some money mindset issues, or my sister is now telling me about her emotions and how she's feeling, and she was never doing that before, And I love it when clients tell these stories, because it reminds us that we are sponges and connected to each other. And it's so, so beautiful. So for women that are listening, who would need to join that container? Who would be the perfect person for that container and that you could help?
Say anybody, right? Like, I feel like if you are listening to us and you hear that calling, then join. Because it's so amazing, the different women who actually join, and we ask them, like, how did you find us? And some are very random, some are very specific. But I feel like what we've learned is that whoever is supposed to be there is there. And each session has been different. Like, each container with the group of women and the group of energy that comes through has been, different. So like Victoria said, if you're a woman, you need healing the mother wound. So I think that if you're listening to our voices and you are called to go to our website and learn more, and you're being called to sign up, then I say it is definitely for you.
You were also mentioning your oracle deck. Did you make your own oracle deck? Oh,
We
beautiful.
did. Yes, it was just printed. It is so beautiful. Tiffany and I worked with this amazing designer. We channeled through just all of the guidance that came in the guidebook and the ideas for the cards, and then she alchemize them and turn them into these beautiful creations. So each image, we hope, is an activation and an invocation that you, every time you use the deck, can go deeper and see maybe a different piece of symbolism or a different meaning. And we really made these so that they could be interpreted by you and your inner voice and your intuition. And the deck itself is also extremely diverse. So we hope that every woman out there can see herself in these cards. And yes, we have cards that are specifically for moms, but you don't have to be a mama to participate in anything that we do. Honestly, we have clients all the time that aren't moms, but you have that creation energy within you, and that's all that matters. So you don't have to necessarily have birthed a child earth side. You can create anything. You can create a business, you can create a piece of art, you can create your own life. And so these oracle cards are just another tool that we have put out into the world, because I think that's all we're really here to do, right? Is share the tools that have worked for us and let you then put together your own toolkit. We're never going to be the ones to say, oh, it has to be done this exact way. No, it doesn't. Do whatever the hell you want, like, and take what resonates, but leave what doesn't. And so, yes, we will share the link with your listeners to check out our oracle cards, because it's been our most amazing manifestation to date, for sure.
Amazing. And when did it become like an evidence for you that you needed to create that oracle deck? Did you have a download?
Sort of.
For me, I remember when me and Victoria were writing out what we wanted to do. Like, in the very beginning, I have notes that I wanted to do a deck, like an oracle tarot deck, but it didn't come. We had our retreat last November, and we were sitting in the North Georgia mountains, and we were just waiting for all of our guests to arrive. And literally, we just started writing out each title of the card and what we wanted it to mean. And it just came. And it's just such a beautiful, like, each card, like Victoria said, was curated from a place of love, and just like definitely came from downloads and just like our passion. And we definitely wanted each woman to be represented, because so many times you see tarot decks that are just like, white women or Black women, or, and so this is all different creeds and all different backgrounds. And it's just really beautiful to kind of see it all come together. And I'm really proud.
Yeah. And our designer, I think, after we'd kind of put this intention into the universe and then forgot about it, we had these downloads and we're writing these things. And then I think I was just scrolling Instagram and I came across an ad for this woman. And I told Tiffany, I was like, we have to work with her. I love her style. This is what I want to do. And Tiffany was like, are you sure now's the time? Like, you know, we've got all this other stuff going on. And I was like, yes, it's now, it's her. Like, this is a full body. Yes, we have to do it. And to see it come to life, I think that's just a reminder too, to anyone listening, when something feels like a full body yes to you, do it. Even if it doesn't logically make sense, like, do it. And we use our bodies to tell us yes or no all of the time. And that's a practice that I think I've fine-tuned over the years. I don't think I could have done it a couple of years ago, but now I know what a yes feels like in my body, and I know what a no feels like in my body. And if it's not a hell yes, then we're not doing it. And it's not the right time.
Yeah, that's so true. It's important to follow the full body yeses, and sometimes we don't do that. But I think it's also important to honor the no's. And when it's not a full body yes, then you also have to say no, because it leaves space for the full body yes. And we forget that. Yeah. All right, ladies, thank you so much for this beautiful moment that we have spent together. I feel like we went full circle talking about so many different spiritual things. For the woman listening to us, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you if they want to get your oracle deck or join the Motherwood program?
Yeah, so spiritmamas.com. You can find all of our current offerings. We're also on Instagram, spirit.mamas. And we would love to share a free 30-day trial of our Spirit Mamas membership with any of your listeners. So we will share that link as well. I know we didn't talk about the membership much, but it is a monthly container that we have to come together with other women around the full moon. We heal our energy. We open the Akashic records. We kind of do all of the witchy things. And we are always open to making new friends. So come say hello. We would love to meet you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you so much, Tiffany. It was such a pleasure to be with you. I'm sure we could have talked for hours more, but you know, the attention span in this world is now so short. We have to keep it to an hour maximum. Thank you so much for coming on the Sacred Roots podcast, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you.